Today we are talking about 1995's film Losing Isaiah, starring Halle Berry. Um, this was this started a lot of conversations when it came out, and I think even now, um, the conversations would lead the same way. This is I didn't write down the name of the author, but this is based on the book Losing Isaiah. Um, this leans into, I'm just going to get this out the way up front. This leans into the white savior trope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the white savior trope and the crackhead mom trope. You have crackhead mom gives birth to a baby, leaves it in the trash, baby almost dies, goes to the hospital, they can't find the mother, and the white social worker ends up adopting this little black child. That's the basis of the story. Let me tell you about some of the people who are in it. Jessica Lange plays the social worker. You might remember her if you've seen the original King Kong. She was in that, and she was also in Tootsie. She's best known for the movie Sybil.
And she also was in American Horror Story in multiple seasons. And she's great.
She is a great actress. I'm sorry I left that out. Zenobia. Halle Berry plays Kalia Richards. She's the birth mother of Isaiah. Now, I thought this was her film debut. It's not. Her film debut was Jungle Fever, which was in 1991. It was directed by Spike Lee. Spike Lee's sister plays Halle Berry's roommate in this film. And she also acted in, was it in Jungle Fever? Yeah, she played an addicted woman with Samuel Jackson. So the two of them were kind of, the way I remember it, they were a couple. I haven't seen the movie in years, but they've acted together before. I'll skip all the other stuff. She did pageants. She had her first role on TV was a spin-off of Who's the Boss. But ever since Jungle Fever, film actress, film after film after film. David Strathairn played Charles Llewellyn, which was Jessica Lange's husband. Jessica was Margaret Lewin, not Llewellyn, Lewin. Mark David Jeffries played Isaiah. This was his first acting role, which I think he did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how they train these kids who are like 3 years old to hit their marks, or if they improv and go with it. He did really good.
Mm-hmm.
But you might remember him from, he played Herman in Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and he played young Dre in Brown Sugar, which Dre was Taye Diggs' character, and he played Michael in Disney's Haunted Mansion, the original Haunted Mansion 2003. Daisy Egan played Hannah, which was Margaret and Charles's daughter and adopted sister to Isaiah. Regina Taylor. I love Regina Taylor. Love her, love her, love her. She played Gussie, which was Kalia's social worker. Okay. She's best known for the TV series I'll Fly Away, which I loved that show when I was younger. She was a maid in the house of a lawyer. The lawyer was Samuel Watterson. He was in Law and Order, the original seasons. She played with him once I'll Fly Away was over. they both were in Law and Order together.
Okay.
So I was ready for her to be in every crime
Everything.
drama that existed. But she's a playwright, so a bulk of her career has happened on the stage, and you'll see her pop up in things from time to time. But I love her. I need to see her in a lot more things. Samuel L. Jackson, I mean, do I need to tell y'all who he is?
No.
I mean, really, we just saw him on the Super. Do I need to tell you?
His stuff is probably
It is a mile
long. Yeah.
long. A mile long. He's known as one of the hardest working men in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And he played attorney Kadar Lewis, who represented Kalia. His wife. Now, she was not his wife in the film. His wife in real life, LaTanya Richardson Jackson, she played attorney Caroline Jones, who was representing the Lewins in the film. She also played with Halle Berry in Introducing Dorothy Dandridge.
I forgot about that. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm. She also played Paulina Pritchett, the choir director.
That's what I know her for the most.
In the Fighting Temptations. Oh,
everybody hated her.
Oh my God. And I haven't seen this film. I may have seen it and just don't remember it. But she played Grandma Sands in the Watsons Go to Birmingham.
Oh, I love that story.
You remember her in that?
I didn't watch the actual film, but I read the story in school, and we had to do like a project on it. Mm-hmm. And I think the project was about like just drawing a scene from the book, and I drew this super detailed picture of a scene, and that's what I remember from childhood, and I really like that story.
And she can draw. Little known secret. But anyway, talking about this film, like I said, there were a lot of things at the time this film was released. This was coming into the New Jack era, and the storytelling was about the roughness of the hood and crack babies and this, and again during the 80s into the 90s, that was a big political thing. What do we do about all these crack babies? And so in a sense, let me not say in a sense, at the time it was triggering. It was heavy, and for the Black community, that stereotype is just as bad as the slave narrative. You know, where you have all of these films, it's like you were slaves, and oh, look how you overcome, isn't this great, blah blah blah. But this one took it to the next level, which was, okay, who gets to adopt a Black child?
Yeah, and like
excuse me.
For me, it was so... Watching it, a bunch of questions come up in my head, because it's like race, it's about what's right versus what's wrong, it's about empathy a little bit, and trying to kind of like understand everybody's point of view in it, because from a standpoint, from a African American person's standpoint, and even when you're watching the movie, you'll see certain characters that are discussing it. They're like, well, you know, I don't really feel comfortable with the fact that a white person is trying to raise a Black child, and, you know, are they going to know how to educate them on their culture and teach them certain things about what to look out for and what to do and how to take care of themselves. So it's just kind of like the whole time I'm watching the movie, and that's kind of why I chose it, because I was like, there's so many conversations that could pop up watching this one movie.
Yeah.
And people can have differing opinions on it, but it's just like, it's really just a conversation starter. And I can see why for its time, especially, it was so controversial, because it's like, you have this white woman that's raising this Black child that is also crack addicted. So he has a lot of like mental issues and stuff like that. Then you
Just
have
overall issues, mental, physical,
mm-hmm.
cognitive.
And then like you have on the other hand, you have a mom that, yes, she was crack addicted herself, but then she's trying to reform herself, and then she finds out that her child is still out there, and in her reformed self is trying to have that relationship with the son that she thought she lost. So it's like you have empathy for that, but then at the same time, it's like, who does this child fit in the best with? Because, or what is the best situation for the child? Because if they've been raised with this woman,
years,
the adoptive parent all these years, and then here comes his bio mom, and she's just like, I'm reformed, I'm good, I'm not addicted anymore to anything, I just want to raise you. What place does that put him in? And what place does that even put the adoptive parent
family
in? Like,
essentially it turns them into a foster parent when you get down to it, if they give the child back to the mother.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing back then and even now that stuck out, if the ethnicities are reversed, does this story still play out the same way? Do we have concerns about a black family, a stable black family, adopting a white crackhead baby? Or does the system by default try and find a stable white family for a white kid?
Yeah, I think and that's kind of the crazy part. I feel like, I would think, again, I don't know much about this area of,
Neither do
I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think, just based off of like what I've seen with adoptive families, I would think that a lot of white children get adopted with white parents. Like, I don't know, that's just what I've seen.
Probably over the last...
And Asian kids too. Asian kids, they get adopted with white families too. Or that's what I meant to say. I meant to say that I've noticed that white parents have a tendency to adopt other ethnicities versus ethnic families like, Hispanic, Black, Asian. They don't really, I haven't seen that where they adopt a white child or
I'm not going to say that they don't.
But it's very rare. Like, you don't see it a lot.
I don't even think that it's rare. I think they will adopt white kids if they're staying stateside. I think they'll adopt white kids because that's an easier transition culturally. But for those who have the money to do it,
mm-hmm.
They'll go to Russia, they'll go to Asia, they'll go to Africa. Ooh, they love Africa.
They really do like
because
Asia too.
It's not just about, I want to be a parent, I want to be a mom, I want to be a dad, and there's a kid who needs me, because you hear people say it all the time. There are plenty of kids in this country
mm-hmm.
who need a home. There's a thing on our local news network called Wednesday's Child. It was started by former football player and sports broadcaster Visika Hammer. And what they do is they profile the kids that don't typically get adopted. So the older kids, the teenagers, the preteens,
mm-hmm.
the kids with health issues, those with Down syndrome or have some kind of physical disability, and they put them on here and they tell you, hey, this is what these kids like to do. They like to play video games, they like to play, they want to go here or there. When they grow up, they want to do this or that. These kids exist here in the US of A, not just in Philadelphia,
mm-hmm.
across the country. But people want to adopt babies.
And honestly, I feel like, I'm not saying this for everyone that has done it, but usually the consensus on that is it's a status thing. Like, oh yeah, we went out of the country and we saw all these children in need, and we learned the culture, and we just thought it would be so good to bring them over here to America to have a better chance.
It's the
and
savior mentality.
Yeah.
I'm saving this child who has absolutely nothing, and I'm bringing them back to the United States so they can have freedom.
Which what was crazy to me was when I was watching this movie, I don't know if it's because I've seen Jessica Lange in so many other films where, what's the word I'm trying to look for? She's advocating in a direction that is not conservative. Maybe that I kind of went into it a little biased because when, like I said, as I like American Horror Story, but when I watched that, there were certain little themes in the show where it was like she would kind of throw stuff out there like that were more liberal, if that makes sense. So when I'm watching this, I'm like, dang, like she's gonna get this like stereotype of like, oh, I'm just this like white lady trying to like have this kid on my arm like he's a new bag or something. But it's more so like I could tell genuinely she cared about him from the day she met him. And I was like crying at the end at work. I was trying not to cry at work because I was like, I'm watching this movie while I'm like, doing my work and everything. And at the end of the movie is when they kind of had to separate. So it's like,
I got emotional.
Yeah, because it's like, this lady saw him at his worst, like literally, and was like, I have to do something because, even the doctors, when he first got brought in, were like, if he doesn't survive, we're not going to use any extreme measures. Like, or if he's not doing well, we're not going to take any extreme measures with him. And she saw that and was like, I have to do something. Like, this boy is special. And seeing how she was with him, like, growing up, you could tell it was coming from a genuine place of love and concern. Like,
because she was a social worker in the hospital, so she's going through and looking at all of these kids, and every time they come in with a medical emergency, she's the one who would make the recommendation, hey, little Bobby came in 6 times, broken arm, burned, head busted. I think it's time for us to get him into foster care, And so this was a time where she saw this kid and was like, I'll be the mama. And there's nothing wrong with that. The challenging idea, the question in the movie was, can a white family raise a black child? And if the black child is returned to the black mama, will it work?
And I think
as well as, can she stay sober for the benefit of this child?
And I kind of liked a lot of the things they showed in the film that kind of led up to the moment when like he had to end up going back to his mom, just to kind of like give more perspective on how he was raised with his adoptive family, because they showed the hard stuff. Like they showed like, okay, the family, she wanted this very badly. Like Jessica Lange's character wanted this so bad. Like, I want to be his mom. But when she brought that information home to her family, they were kind of like, we don't know about that. And he's crack addicted. Like, is that going to be a good fit? And they kind of had to end up getting on board with that and adjusting to that. Because even when she brought the baby home, like, she was explaining to her daughter, look, like, you cannot give him direct eye contact because he may react negatively to that. He has to be handled a certain way. And her daughter was excited, new baby in the house, whatever. But when he wasn't really reacting the way she wanted him to, she would get disappointed. And the father even was kind of like, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea. Do we have the resources to really like help take care of him the way he needs and all of that? And is that something we really want to be going through right now? Like,
the thing about eye contact, didn't she say black crack babies?
No, she was just saying crack addicted babies.
Okay.
When she brought it home to them, she said he's a black crack baby. Yeah. But when she was explaining it to her daughter, she said crack addicted babies, you cannot give them direct eye contact because it just
upsets them.
Yeah, it upsets them. So seeing that dynamic, it was good. And then I really appreciate how they showed even Halle Berry's side of it, because Halle Berry, you know, she went looking for him, couldn't find him. She's still crack addicted at this point, trying to look for him or whatever, couldn't find him, thinking that he's dead or whatever. She ended up getting into police custody and was put into a program to help reform herself. Once she actually got to that point, she was in like a group home with someone else, I believe, or a roommate with somebody else that was dealing with the similar issues where she had children and she was dealing with drug addiction and stuff like that. And what you see was that in Halle Berry's reformed self, you know, the roommate she's living with is still dealing with the struggle of it all, where she's not able to kind of step away from that lifestyle fully. And her kids are kind of left behind with Halle Berry's character a lot. So she's kind of taking on that mother role, even though she can't do it with Isaiah. She's taking that role on, and she's seeing Isaiah in these kids to a certain extent, and especially the son, because it was like a daughter and a son, and it was like she was really close with the son, because I think a part of her was like, I missed out on this with my child. I want to kind of like recreate that with this child.
I don't think she was trying to recreate it. It's kind of a thing where it's like,
it was a
son's
void.
Not here, so I'm gonna put all the love that I would for Isaiah into this little boy.
Yeah.
And I think they played that so well where you could see that she was favoring the little boy a bit more than the daughter. Neither one of these kids acted like, okay, why are you giving him more attention than me, or I'm getting more attention than you?
Yeah.
But you could see where she was putting a little more energy there. And the fact is, she was working as a nanny also. So it's like you see her engaging with kids and it tells you, okay, why couldn't she take care of Isaiah?
It's a redemption thing. I feel like, you know, it was a missing void in her life, and she wanted to kind of redeem herself in her more reformed life. So it's like taking care of kids kind of made her feel good, and it filled that void that she had, because it was like, you know, once she actually stepped out of being addicted to drugs, she realized like how much she wanted to really be a mom, and missed out on that opportunity because she was addicted to drugs.
Right.
So I do like how they show both sides of that, because it really builds a case for, or gives you perspective of how each party is feeling, and allows you to be empathetic to both parties.
All parties.
But then at the end of the film, you like, oh, well, what was the best decision? In my opinion,
I think the best decision happened by the end.
Yeah, it did happen by the end. I didn't agree with the court end of it, but inevitably it ended up working out the way it was supposed to. It was just that I feel like even realistically in a court of law, they probably wouldn't have done that
drastically.
Yeah,
but yeah, this is definitely a good one to watch. I'm gonna say this, unpopular opinion maybe. This wasn't. I don't think this was Halle's best acting role.
No.
And this is something that I talked to her about in this and also in Jungle Fever. She, as a drug addict,
it was like she was like a gorgeous drug addict. Like it was.
And not saying that they don't exist, but it's like you look at her and you're like, she ain't never been there.
Exactly.
Like, she ain't even never really been by a cigarette.
I have seen very pretty actresses play hard very well. Like I forget her name, but she was in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. That woman, the main character.
Oh gosh, I can see her face now.
I forget her name in the movie. Helen.
Okay.
Yeah, Helen she was this gorgeous, put together woman in the movie in Medea. And she was in Set It Off too. But, like, she was this really reformed, posh, chic woman, married to a lawyer. And then, like, once things happened in the film that kind of pulled the rug from under her, that hardened part of her really came out. And it felt so real and genuine. Like, it didn't feel like, girl, you pretty all the time, and like you just playing this role. Like it was just like genuine, like wow, like you just saw that transition and it was so believable. And even in Set It Off, like she was believable. Like it wasn't.
But I'm gonna say this. This was something else we talked about. Kimberly Elise.
Yeah.
This was something else we talked about. The pretty privilege. I think it's part expectation, but colorism. It's easy. It was probably easier for people to sympathize with Halle Berry's character because she's fair-skinned and she's pretty. And this is not to say Kimberly Elise is not pretty, but the image we have in our head, if you think about who they put up on the screen when they want to show drug addicted people or welfare people, they usually find the darker skinned people to put up there. And so if Kimberly Elise were to play that same role, people's feelings about it would be heavier. People would probably say, oh no, no, she can't have that baby back. There's no way she can have that baby back. She has to put in more work than what we saw with Halle Berry's character. I think that really plays into it. And again, you know, even in Jungle Fever, people had the same comment about her in Jungle Fever playing a drug addict. And she was like, I worked really hard to be ugly. No makeup, her hair was a mess. You know, they put like white crust, I think, or something around her mouth, and she was still too pretty.
You know, what's crazy is that, like, aside from her being pretty, though, like, she was to me, she was like, even when she was trying to do the whole, like, hard thing, it wasn't believable to me. And it's not even because she's not, or it's not even just because of the fact that she's a beautiful woman. It was more so like, girl, you're just not, like, rough enough for me. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like when you see somebody and you're like, oh, they about that life. And then you see another person and it's like, oh, they not about that life. Halle Berry is the she not about that life kind of, like, persona. Like, and it's a part of it is she's gorgeous, she's pretty, and she usually, like, has this lighthearted attitude, but it's like also just like I can just tell she's never been through the struggle. Like, I don't know, like I could go all day about this, but the point of the matter is, like,
there's a lot of actors who haven't, who they're more believable. I think some of that was experience because this was only her second role. Am I right?
It's like, you see her in Boomerang. Even when, oh my gosh, I watched Boomerang a couple weeks ago too. And I'm watching her in Boomerang and, like, to the point where she became like, I don't want to see you anymore. And I'm this new hardened businesswoman. I was like, girl, bye. That's not really how you feel. Like, I'm just sitting here like.
Yeah, I think I needed her to emote a little bit differently. I get the passion was kind of there, but it was like, okay, what's here isn't quite coming out here.
Halle Berry does beautiful very well. She does funny very well. She does nice girl very well. Even in Catwoman, like, that whole, like, oh, you know,
and see, people, all right,
again, like, she does that very well. Like,
unpopular opinion, I loved her in Catwoman.
I loved her in Catwoman too.
A lot of people are like, oh my God, Catwoman was crap. No, I loved her in that role. I wish they did the sequel and put her in it because the thing I always try and tell people with that movie, that was kind of like the background story introducing you to the character.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always crappy.
Yeah.
You know, once you get a beat on who they are and now you put them in a situation, that's when you figure out.
And
who
her
the
good girl
is.
gone bad thing worked because it's like I said,
It
she
still
does.
wasn't rough.
It wasn't rough, but it was also, she could play into it a little bit better, the hard, rough aspect of that, the villain aspect, because the sex appeal was added into it. So it was kind of like, yeah, I'm this sexy temptress villain, and like I get away, because Catwoman's character in general is very much
cat-like.
like, she's cat-like, but she also had a soft side to her anyway. Like, it was like, yeah, she was a villain, but
she was
still
cunning. That's what it is.
Exactly. And Halle Berry can do that, but as far as like, oh, I'm just out the gate rough, like
yeah,
it doesn't work for me.
She has a movie out right now. It's her and, give me a second, talk to the people about something.
What did I talk about? I was just talking about Halle Berry.
No, she has something now. It's an action film, and I'm
Cloud
trying to
Atlas?
No.
Oh.
No. It's her, Omar Sy. They have 2 kids. It's one of those things where it's like secret agents that left their life behind, and now the agency or some enemy is coming after them.
I haven't watched her in a lot of actiony films,
and I really want to see that, to see if I can appreciate who she is. Upcoming movie.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not it. I don't know. It's not Crime 101. I don't think it's Crime 101. But yeah, that keep your eyes out for that one. They've just started doing the promos for it in the last couple of weeks, and it actually looks pretty good. I think she was in a 007 movie. Don't get me to line which one it was.
Don't get me to line either, because that and Mission Impossible are the 2 I have not seen yet. I know I'm going to get judged severely for that. But
do you know how many movies I haven't seen?
Yeah, because I think the newest Mission Impossible is, if it didn't come out already, it's coming out this year, and I'm like, oh, I gotta catch up, because
Yeah, I think they need to let Mission Impossible be successfully fulfilled. But anyway, that's all we have for this week. We haven't decided on next week solid yet, so we'll keep you posted on that. As always, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Movies That Move We. We also announce and post our link over on the Spill app. So if you ain't over there, get over there. What are you waiting for? Okay, it's a nice chill vibe over there. I invite you to join me. All right. On Spill, I'm Nikay Writes, NikeWrites. Okay, so like, share, follow, subscribe, tell your mama, tell your friends, and until then, we will see you next Sunday. Bye.